After a good night's rest, we were up early to get going. The last few days had been relatively mild, but the freezing temperatures had descended on us once again. It can be tough in the mornings as the truck ends up frozen solid, and on this occasion, even a brief spell of morning sun didn't help matters much. Even the mechanisms of the rooftop tent had frozen during the night, but it wasn't long before we were packed up and setting off to cross the high mountain pass. We're at the highest point now of the route over the Stekenjokk Pass. There's a nice sign there, marked Lapland. Pretty cold up here, but wow, I mean, this makes the whole journey worth it. We've suffered a bit with frozen limbs and waking up in the cold on this trip, but I've never ever seen anything like this before. It is unreal. So just landed in a place called, I'm not going to pronounce this right, Fatmomaki. It's a little Sami village. Well, I guess if you're passing through, you can come down here and camp. It's ideal, beautiful little place. You can see all the snowy mountains right there in the distance. Perfect for fishing as well. Might look into it if we can. If we can stay here, we might spend the night here. It's beautiful. You can camp in that area, but unfortunately not at this time of year, so we walked over to the village to have a look around. This is one of the most prominent Sami villages in Sweden and one of the best preserved in the world. The meeting place has been used for thousands of years, and some of the early buildings date back to the 16th century, but most of them are 18th century. There was a mix of traditional Sami huts and more modern buildings in the village. The area is used primarily as a summer meeting place, but during the onset of autumn, the area had a slight feel of abandonment, except for the church, that is. The church was built in 1790 and is very well preserved. It was a fascinating place to spend some time. So there's an exhibition hut here that you can have a look into. So let's take a peek inside. So it looks like you've got the fire pit here in the middle. Got a little seat for Tris there. And then you have this kind of elaborate kind of hanging structure. The woodwork's really nice in here. And then obviously you've got the flue up there, kind of like a teepee type setup. And you've got a chain here, which I'm guessing that's to keep your pots above the fire.
There's a pot there.
Yeah, there's a pot there in case you want to have a go. But it's actually not a bad size. I mean, they look small from the outside, but I guess you could fit a family in here easy enough. I'm not really sure they wouldn't carry something like this with them when they're reindeer herding, I wouldn't have thought. It's far too much wood. I guess they just keep these types of huts in these types of settlements. What do you think, Triz?
Yeah, possibly.
Mm. We continued east along the wilderness road towards Wilhelmina, where we left the road to look for a place to camp for the night. We found a decent area a long way up an old overgrown forest track, so we decided to set up camp. I would often check the weather report on this trip, and tonight was forecast to be the coldest so far, at -5, so we began building up a large supply of firewood to see us through the evening. We got the fire going nice and early so we could build up a good bed of embers to really keep us warm. And of course, a nice cup of tea always helps matters too. As the sun began to set, we could really feel the freezing air creeping around us. We had enough warm weather clothes to cope with these temperatures. Down-filled jackets and woolly hats can easily see you through sub-zero temperatures, but even so, the heat from the campfire was more than welcome. Tris had made dinner in the cold, and faced with another night of sub-zero temperatures, her spirits, quite understandably, began to wane a little, and the both of us began to question our sanity, and we asked ourselves, why were we doing this? Then, as darkness fell, our eyes were drawn above the glow of the campfire, where we witnessed Mother Nature's most mysterious, yet most spectacular show, the Aurora Borealis. The emerald green northern lights danced across the sky, and we were reminded exactly why we set out on this trip. We sat back in amazement and watched the show, and we completely forgot about the cold. So we noticed a few dark clouds coming from over the lake there, so we figured it might rain in an hour or two, so we decided to put the foxwing up and get one of the side panels up as well, because there's a bit of a breeze coming in. Got a good stash of firewood, and what we're going to do now is get the Dutch oven out, the snow pig fire pit, and slow cook a beef and dumpling stew, which I think is going to be a perfect dinner for this type of weather. Well, we've got the stew on. That'll probably take 2 to 3 hours to cook over the coals there in the snow pig fire pit. It's 5 o'clock, so I'm going to treat myself to a Norland's Gold. Check that out. Very nice looking can. It's got some moose, some fish, some trees, a lake, and everything to do with Scandinavia is on that can. And as you can see there, it's only 3.5%. So in my book, that isn't even lager, it's pop. So you can drink as many of these as you like. Cheers. So we're on a really decent gravel road here that's heading on for a fair few miles around the outskirts of the Fjelle National Park. We've got about a good 40 kilometres, so we're kind of trying to keep our eyes open for moose or bear. So far we've only managed to see one female moose, and that was from a good distance, and as soon as she saw us she was gone. And we haven't seen a bear yet. I mean, I doubt we're going to from the vehicle. I think we'd be really lucky if we did, but they're very prevalent in this area around Lofsdal and in this national park area, so we're just scanning the forests, but every time you see an upturned tree and like a big shadow, you're like, is that a bear, is that a bear? It's usually not. So yeah, keeping our eyes open though. Yeah, so we're just carrying on down this dirt track, and we have found a nice little spot for lunch right next to this river. Seems to be quite a popular fishing place. There's a bit of info there on where to get your fishing permit, but you can see it behind there. It's probably a great fly fishing spot in the spring. We had found another remote wild camping spot in the forests of the northern area of Dalarna County. We had been on the road now for over 2 weeks, and we were really beginning to enjoy our days in Sweden. Each day had given us something different, yet each day we had followed a familiar routine. We would look for a good camping spot, then gather and process firewood before making sure that we would eat well on the evening. We were following a pattern of shelter, warmth and food, an age-old rhythm that was central to human endeavour and existence for millennia. There's a lot to be said for this way of living, and it's amazing how enjoyable it is to live outdoors and work towards satisfying just a handful of basic needs. In the modern industrial world, we largely take these needs for granted, allowing our minds to think about other things, and there is little focus on the here and now. But I'm convinced that a brief return to simple living, the outdoors, and the enjoyment one gets from using their hands and basic tools to make life comfortable is why overland travel is so appealing. We could spend months travelling like this, but the trip was drawing to an end, and we were in no hurry to go home. We're wondering what's going on. It's lovely and warm here, but yeah, beautiful clear sky, sun's out. I've had to put the shirt away and stick a t-shirt on, it's getting that hot. Oh, must be at least 10 degrees or something. The warm weather came as a surprise after days of near freezing temperatures, so we made the most of it and took the opportunity to wander around the forest while the rooftop tent was drying out. We had a look at the map and decided that we didn't have to head south in too much of a hurry, so we packed up at lunchtime and covered just 10 miles of forest tracks before setting up camp again. So tonight we're going to be having campfire pizza. I brought some of those like quick mix pizza based dough packages with us. I haven't used them yet, of course, like one of those things which could have really just stayed at home, but never mind, brought them with us. So we're just going to make a few pizzas tonight. I've actually got 4 packs of the stuff, so it's going to be I'm going to make 4 pizzas basically. Eat a couple tonight and then just eat a couple for breakfast tomorrow. It's got to be done really. So Trish is making a Fallokorv pizza, which is Fallokorv's the Swedish sausage. It's basically just like a giant hot dog. I mean, there it is there. Look at that beautiful cut on that, Trish. So just going to lash a bit of
trying to cut it finely.
Yeah, you're doing well. Just going to lash a bit of cheese, a bit of, what else have we got? Mushrooms. A bit of tomato puree and
some herbs.
A few herbs, that'll do it. So all that's happening here is these pizza base mixers just going straight into this Tupperware box. And I'm going to lash in a lot of water. Now I'm going to get Trish to mix it all. She's good at that type of stuff. And I'm going to crack open a glass of wine and probably take the role of like head chef or like a director, foreman type role, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be getting my hands dirty or doing any of the kneading or any of that stuff. I just see, you know, I consider those tasks beneath a man of my stature, you know. She's just having none of it. I'll be mixing this in 10 minutes time.
Put it on after it's done so that we can put the next one on.
So here's the pizza. We're just keeping it simple. We've got the base, a bit of tomato puree, Fallokorv, mushrooms, cheese, bit of pepper, a few herbs, and sprinkling of garlic granules. So I'm just going to whack it on here. And put that lid over. And let's see how it turns out. The base has come out just fine, not too burnt, but lovely and crispy. So there you have it. That's the Fallokorv campfire pizza. Absolutely delicious. What do you say, Cliff? I'm even surprised myself that it's come out so good. This was the last wild camp of the journey. We're off down to Mora today, and then we'll be heading down into southern Sweden, where I don't think we'll be getting a wild camp like this. And then it's off onto the continent and back home. Hell of a journey back, man. It's like, you know, it's going to be 5 days on the road. But I mean, as you can see, it's really foggy here this morning. But last night, It must have been about 2 in the morning. There was some moose came past the truck, but they were galloping and they sounded like horses. There was definitely more than one of them, and they were like letting out a call all the time. And they kind of came past the truck, and it sounded like they came down to this area. Been keeping my eyes on the ground, like for some signs of footprints, but can't find any. And I think there's a track down there. I think they must have ran there. So they came past the vehicle and down through here. It was as if they were kind of being chased by something, because it was making a constant noise, and they were running hellish fast. But we opened the doors of the tent. It was so dark. It was quite misty as well. You know, just couldn't see a thing. It's actually quite spooky. But I just hope we can find our way out of these forest tracks. We're in pretty deep, and it doesn't look very clear down there. So we'll see how that goes. We managed to find our way back to the road easy enough, and spent the night in Mora, which is a place I can recommend for an overnight stay. There are a few cafes, a couple of bars, some good shops, and the campsite is also great. Mora is the home of the famous Mora knives. I had used them on this trip and found them to be excellent quality and really good value. The town has a Mora knife concept store, which is worth a visit. Hi folks, so this is our last morning in Sweden. We came down from Mora yesterday. We gave up on wild camping because this area in southern Sweden is so populated. It's difficult to find somewhere. There seems to be houses up every track, so we looked for a campsite and we went down south of Karlstad, but everywhere was shut. I think Sweden has a pretty short camping season. So we drove for a fair few hours and we ended up at a place called Skövde, which it looks like a small city really. And they have a campsite, so we got in here about 4:30, so that wasn't too bad. But I think it's something to bear in mind if you're doing a trip like this in the autumn months. It's a bit difficult to find somewhere that's open, so it might be worth planning ahead. I wish I did, but never mind. So we're about 4 or 5 hours away from Malmö. We'll be on the ferry tonight into Travemund on the north coast of Germany. We'll be camping somewhere in the Netherlands, and then we'll be back to the UK. So I think this pretty much brings the series to an end. So I'd just like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the series. Until next time, see you later.